Good morning, as this recording is just. Good morning. Do you know what your superpower is? Because this is what this video is about. Ida and I, and possibly you will have already watched a video where I am talking to Ida about the reality of the conditions that she lives with, which I can tell you are very, very, very nasty, and you never, ever, and I work with her all the time, I never, ever see her complain. So that's one of her superpowers. And I never see her do anything except graciously actually surrender to the reality of the things that she was born with. However, she very, very feistily uses her superpower. So I'm going to talk a little bit about her superpowers from the outside, and then she'll tell you herself what they are, what she thinks they are, but working with her. And I'm also going to share my superpowers just as examples, because my understanding of now talking to a cross-section of people all over the world in all sorts of different circumstances is that we are all struggling with something to a lesser or greater degree. And that's just part of the privilege of being alive and being human. And a lot of us now, after probably much soul searching, have the skills to be able to go through challenges. Well, I can talk for myself, but I go through challenges better now with the skills that I have. And the skill set that I'm talking about today is all connected to our superpowers. So very briefly, I'm just going to give you an example of this extraordinary woman that I work with called Ida. Her superpowers are humour, tenacity, hyper integrated intelligence. She's emotionally intelligent and incredibly sensitive and the most wonderful heart. She's certainly no pushover. But the superpowers that come through every day when I'm working with her, I think we share two in common. One is humour and a sense of the ludicrous, and the other is the capacity to be very, very flexible. Because most of us living with chronic conditions, and under that umbrella, I don't just mean medical chronic conditions, I mean chronic conditions of economical struggle or living with other people that are having difficulties, or living with people that, for instance, have depressions, or maybe you yourself suffer from levels of depression or isolation, or there are so many issues out there that people are up against. And when you begin to identify your superpower, and flexibility is an amazing one to have, you will see, if you haven't already, how amazing those superpowers are. Because, for instance, when Ida and I work together, we'll have a plan every single week of when we're going to talk to each other. And almost every single week, those plans have to be changed and we have to be flexible with each other. She's bringing up 3 lovely children. She runs other businesses. She's running one of our joint businesses. I'm looking after clients all over the world. I'm house whispering. It just goes on. And I'm sure you listening to this also have a very, very full, busy life where you are also squeezing in, I hope, some fun and adventure. And what I want for you walking away from this is I want you just to take a few minutes, if you want to, and just go, wait a minute, what is my superpower? So this is slightly going on from our self-chatter. If we can begin to be willing to like ourselves and befriend ourselves, then we can also begin to assess what is our superpower. I had no idea that I had such a ridiculous sense of fun and humour. And I'm going to end with, this is a true story. My mother was, we had a very, very difficult relationship, but I very early on knew how much fun she gave other people, and in fact how much fun she was. Both my parents had great senses of humour, and for some extraordinary and bizarre reason, my mother was convinced that I had no sense of humour at all, and that's how terrible our relationship was. And it now makes me, as you can see, it makes me giggle, because one day I was working in one of my clinics that happened to be in one of her houses, and I walked through and I said something that obviously suddenly caught her attention, and she looked at me very, very strangely, and it was, I'm going to see if I can act it out, she was really very, very bemused. And so I said, Mummy, what on earth are you looking at me in that way? Bearing in mind, she actually, on the whole, didn't really look at me. So she said, well, darling, I think you've just been funny. Yes. And then she walked away. And 3 days later, apparently I was funny again in her mind, and she clocked it, and she looked even more bemused. And I said, Mummy, you're doing it again. And she said, yes, it's very odd, darling. I think you've got a sense of humour. Yes. And she walked away. So my mother, thank goodness, discovered that she did have a daughter who did have a sense of humour. And but in a way, that story illustrates what we're like with ourselves. We don't have to have a mother that doesn't notice. We often don't notice what we are repeatedly using that is like a superpower. So is yours courage? Is yours tenacity? Is yours being practical? Is yours being thoughtful? What is your superpower? Oh, and Ida's very, very thoughtful. So you are going to be introduced to Ida more and more through these podcasts, because she's an incredibly inspiring young woman. And I feel really privileged that she's working with me to get some real goodies out to people that are struggling, just like Ida struggled and just like I used to struggle. And I still struggle, but I struggle with my superpowers. So as you can tell, I have enormous fun, which I really want to introduce people to, because when we are up against horrible stuff, it's really easy to just end up collapsing internally. And if you're interested, I want to show you how not to do that, and how to begin to understand that if something challenging is happening to you, then in fact you do have it inside you to find the solutions. So take huge care, and please, on YouTube, it gives you the opportunity to write to us. So tell us, what is your superpower? Take care. Bye.